I was working 80 hours a week as a marketing manager, making $65,000 a year, and I hadn't seen my friends in 6 months. I was so burned out that I cried in my car every morning before going into the office. Then I discovered a strategy so simple that when I first heard it, I thought it was too good to be true. Fast forward 18 months. I now work 20 hours per week and make $650,000 annually. But here's the part that will blow your mind. I didn't quit my job to start a business. I used something called time arbitrage, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to do it too. What if I told you that the reason you're burned out isn't because you're working too hard, but because you're working on the wrong things? What if the solution isn't better time management or work-life balance tips, but a complete restructuring of how you think about time itself? I'm about to share with you a concept that 99% of people never learn: how to buy back your time by selling your knowledge instead of your hours. 18 months ago, I was the poster child for burnout culture. I wore my 80-hour weeks like a badge of honor, convinced that grinding harder was the only path to success. I was wrong, dangerously wrong. Today, I'm going to show you the exact system that transformed me from a time-broke employee to a financially free entrepreneur who controls her own schedule. This isn't about passive income or get-rich-quick schemes. This is about strategic time liberation through value creation. The biggest lie we've been sold is that success requires sacrifice, specifically sacrificing our time, health, and relationships for money. This time for money trap is where most ambitious people get stuck, and it's designed to keep you there. The harder you work within this system, the more trapped you become because you're optimizing for the wrong metric. Here's what I discovered during my darkest burnout period. I wasn't actually being productive during those 80-hour weeks. I was being busy, which feels productive but creates no real value. I spent hours in meetings that could have been emails, worked on projects that never saw the light of day, and said yes to every request because I thought that's what dedicated employees do. The wake-up call came when I calculated my true hourly wage. $65,000 divided by 4,160 hours, 80 hours x 52 weeks, equals 15.62 per hour. I was making less than someone working part-time at Starbucks. But I was too exhausted and too caught up in the hustle culture narrative to see it clearly. The psychology behind this trap is fascinating. We've been conditioned to believe that time spent equals value created. But this linear thinking ignores the concept of leverage, the ability to create exponential results with the same or less effort. Every ultra-successful person has figured out how to break free from linear time-for-money equations. I started studying people who seemed to have cracked the code. Entrepreneurs who worked fewer hours but earned more. Authors who wrote one book that generated income for decades. And consultants who charged premium prices for their expertise. The common thread wasn't that they worked harder, it was that they worked differently. The breakthrough insight was understanding the difference between input-based and output-based value creation. Input-based work pays you for your time regardless of results. Salary, hourly wages, even many forms of freelancing. Output-based work pays you for results regardless of time, products, systems, intellectual property, and scalable services. This isn't just about making more money. It's about reclaiming your most valuable asset, time. When you're trapped in the time-for-money equation, you're essentially renting out your life in 8-hour chunks. The goal isn't to rent it at a higher rate, it's to stop renting it altogether and start owning your time again. Time arbitrage is the practice of leveraging knowledge and systems to create value that isn't directly tied to the hours you work. Instead of selling your time, you're selling your expertise, your systems, and your ability to solve problems, regardless of how long it takes you to deliver the solution. The concept hit me when I realized that my most valuable contributions at work weren't the 80 hours I spent in the office. They were the insights and strategies I developed that could be implemented by others. I was essentially giving away my intellectual property for a fixed salary while my company profited from my innovations indefinitely. I started by documenting every process, strategy, and solution I had developed over my 5 years in marketing. This became what I call my knowledge inventory, a comprehensive library of my professional expertise. Instead of letting this knowledge remain locked in my job, I began packaging it into scalable formats. The first experiment was creating a course on marketing automation, something I had mastered through years of trial and error at work. I spent 40 hours creating the course content during evenings and weekends. That course has now generated over $180,000 in revenue, while requiring maybe 5 hours per month of my time for updates and customer support. This is time arbitrage in action. I invested 40 hours once to create an asset that generates income continuously. Traditional employment would pay me for those 40 hours once and own the results forever. My new model pays me for those 40 hours indefinitely while I retain ownership of my expertise. The key insight is that your knowledge and experience have compound value. The problem-solving skills you've developed, the systems you've created, and the insights you've gained are all intellectual assets that can be monetized separately from your time. Most people give these assets away for free to their employers. I expanded this concept by identifying the recurring problems I solved at work and creating systematized solutions. Instead of solving the same problem repeatedly for one company, I packaged the solution once and sold it to multiple companies. This transformed me from a problem solver for hire into a solution provider. The mathematical beauty of time arbitrage is exponential rather than linear. In traditional employment, working twice as hard might get you a 10-20% raise. With time arbitrage, creating one additional valuable asset can double or triple your income without increasing your working hours. The biggest mistake people make when trying to escape the 9-to-5 trap is thinking they need to create massive, complex products or quit their job immediately. This all-or-nothing mentality leads to failure because it requires too much upfront investment and risk. The secret is building what I call micro-products, small, valuable solutions that can be created and tested quickly. Micro-products are digital assets that solve specific problems for specific audiences. They're not massive online courses or complex software. They're focused solutions that can be created in 10-20 hours and priced between $27,297. The goal isn't to get rich from one micro-product, it's to build a portfolio of assets that generate cumulative income. My first micro-product was a simple email template library for marketing professionals. I had developed dozens of high-converting email templates during my corporate job, and I packaged 50 of them into a $47 digital download. It took me 12 hours to create and has generated over $23,000 in revenue with virtually no ongoing maintenance. The psychology behind micro-products is powerful. They require small commitments from both creator and customer, reducing friction and increasing success rates. Customers can easily justify a $47 purchase to solve an immediate problem, and creators can easily find 12 hours to test a business idea without risking their primary income. I developed a systematic approach for identifying micro-product opportunities. Every week, I documented 3 things: problems my colleagues frequently asked me about, processes I had to explain repeatedly, and solutions I wished existed but couldn't find. This created a constant pipeline of micro-product ideas based on real market demand. The compound effect of micro-products is remarkable. Each product might only generate $502,000 per month, but when you have 10 to 15 micro-products, you're looking at $5,000, $30,000 in monthly passive income. This is when you reach what I call the freedom threshold, the point where your asset income exceeds your living expenses. The beauty of this strategy is that it's built for people who are still employed. You're not competing with full-time entrepreneurs who can dedicate 60 hours per week to their business. You're creating focused solutions in small time blocks, leveraging the expertise you're already developing in your day job. By the time I had 8 micro-products generating consistent revenue, I realized I had accidentally built a business that was more profitable than my corporate salary. The transition from employee to entrepreneur wasn't a dramatic leap. It was a natural evolution facilitated by consistent micro-product creation. The final piece of the time liberation puzzle is automation. Not just automating tasks, but automating entire business processes so your income becomes truly passive. This is where most people get it wrong. They try to automate everything at once instead of systematically building automated systems that compound over time. My automation strategy follows what I call the touch-free revenue cycle. Every aspect of my business, from lead generation to product delivery to customer support, operates without my direct involvement. This didn't happen overnight. It was built systematically over 12 months while I was still employed full-time. The first automation layer was sales and delivery. I use platforms like Gumroad and Teachable to handle payments, product delivery, and basic customer support automatically. When someone purchases one of my micro products, they receive instant access without any action from me. This eliminated the biggest time sink for most solo entrepreneurs: manual order fulfillment. The second layer was marketing automation. I created email sequences that nurture leads, provide value, and make sales automatically. Someone can discover my content, join my email list, receive weeks of valuable insights, and purchase multiple products without me being involved in the process. This system runs 24/7, generating sales while I sleep. The third layer was content multiplication. Instead of creating new content constantly, I developed systems to repurpose one piece of content into multiple formats and distribution channels. A single strategy becomes a blog post, podcast episode, social media content, and email newsletter, all automatically distributed through scheduling tools. The breakthrough came when I implemented what I call wisdom loops, automated systems that capture and redistribute my expertise without ongoing input. For example, I created an automated survey system that identifies my audience's biggest challenges, then automatically sends them relevant micro products and resources. This creates a self-improving system that becomes more valuable over time. The financial results speak for themselves. 20 hours per week generating $650,000 annually equals $625 per hour, a 4,000% increase from my corporate hourly rate. But the real transformation isn't financial. It's temporal. I own my time again. I can work from anywhere, take vacations without checking email, and pursue relationships and hobbies that were impossible during my burnout years. The key insight is that automation isn't about being lazy. It's about being strategic. By automating routine processes, you free up your human capacity for high-value activities, creative problem-solving, strategic thinking, and building relationships. You become more valuable, not less, by removing yourself from the routine operations of your business. Your burnout isn't a character flaw. It's a signal that you're trapped in a system designed to extract maximum value from your time. The solution isn't working smarter within the system. It's building a new system that works for you. Time arbitrage isn't just a business strategy. It's a life philosophy. When you stop renting out your time and start selling your knowledge, you reclaim control over your most precious resource. Your expertise has compound value. Use it wisely. Micro products are your bridge from employment to entrepreneurship. You don't need to quit your job or create the next Facebook. Small, focused solutions compound into life-changing income streams while you build the business during off hours. Automation isn't about replacing yourself. It's about multiplying yourself. When systems handle routine tasks, your human creativity and strategic thinking become infinitely more valuable. Technology should serve your freedom, not enslave you to more work. The transition from burnout to breakthrough isn't about working less. It's about working intentionally. Every hour invested in building assets that generate passive income is an hour invested in buying back your future freedom. If this video opened your eyes to what's possible when you stop trading time for money, smash that like button and tell me in the comments what your first micro product idea will be. Subscribe and hit the notification bell because next week I'm doing a deep dive into the specific automation tools and platforms I use to run my business on autopilot. Share this with anyone who's feeling trapped in the burnout cycle. They need to see there's another way. And don't stop your learning here. YouTube has another game-changing video waiting for you on your screen. Keep building that momentum toward your breakthrough.